Hello everybody, Sacred Studios here, and today I'll be showcasing the great King K. Rool and his Kremling comrades. This figure was a blast to make, as K. Rool is my secondary in Smash Bros. However, since his design is so unique, I really couldn't find a good base for him. I decided to use this WWE Mark Henry figure because that was the closest I could find at the time. And in spring 2019, I finally finished him. And this is what he looked like. At the time, I thought he looked awesome, but then I showed him off to my friends, and let's just say they thought he sort of looked like the real K. Rool melted away, and this was his remains. So I decided to go back to the drawing board and fix him up, over and over again for months, until finally I got the final product here. Now this is an older figure of mine, so it's not my best work, but I still think this is one of my favorite figures. Now on to how I made him. So you can see here that my original K. Rool figure was kind of lanky looking, like he was stretched out. K. Rool has really tiny legs, but my figure just had regular legs, and this just looked terrible. So the first thing I did was shorten his legs by cutting chunks out. Then I made his mouth wider so he looks like an actual crocodile, not some green dude with bad teeth. Speaking of teeth, they were made out of toothpicks, and his cape was made out of a robe of mine that my mom wasn't very happy that I cut up. Now there actually is a very slight change I made to the figure between episode 3 and 4. If you look here, the figure looks fine in episode 3, except one thing. His crown still looked like I made it out of Play-Doh. So in between episodes, I decided to ditch the old one and give him a proper crown with my 3D printer. I also decided to make his crown removable, because up to that point, for some reason, I just glued it onto his head. So here's the finished K. Rool, and for the first time ever, I'm going to be showcasing multiple figures in one showcase. K. Rool's Kremling crew, as featured in episode 4, were very time consuming to make. Each one required a new technique. So first up we have Claptrap. This figure has no articulation, so it's not really an action figure, but I'll still showcase him here. Claptrap was relatively simple to make. The base was just one of those plastic toy dinosaurs you get at the dollar store. But one part of him drove me crazy, his teeth. Now, making teeth for K. Rool out of tiny toothpicks is hard enough, but imagine making teeth for Claptrap. I mean, his teeth are like most of his body, so no matter what I did, those teeth would just fall out, they would break, they would bend over, or like if I would shake them slightly, they would get misplaced. But just one day, I just got lucky, and just all the teeth stayed in place. But besides the teeth, he was really one of the easier figures to make. Now for the next 3 Kremlings, I bought a bunch of old Star Trek figures for the bases. I never really watched Star Trek, so I don't know like which figure used which base, but I just bought a lot of them off eBay. So first up, we have Critter, the Goomba of the Donkey Kong series. Now out of all the Kremlings I made, this is probably one of my favorites. Not only did he turn out pretty well, but I actually took the design from multiple sources and I made my own creative spin on the character. The top part is from the original Donkey Kong Country, and the bottom part is from the GameCube Mario Sports titles, as well as the color. Next up, we have Klinger from Donkey Kong Country 2. In episode 4, Klinger is the designated trumpet player, but in the game, he doesn't play any musical instrument. He just kind of swings back and forth, and that's kind of what he does. Honestly, Klinger is one of the more forgettable Kremlings, so I decided to give him a trumpet and, make him more memorable. He's also one of the only Kremlings to actually resemble a pirate out of all the Kremlings that I made, and it really fit the pirate-themed battle I had going on in that episode. Next up, we have another one of my favorites, Krusha. In my series, Krusha is portrayed with a really high-pitched voice, which I don't think was ever in any of his official portrayals, but I thought it was kind of funny if the strongest Kremling had a really high-pitched voice. His camo design was also a challenge to make, but I finally got a good pattern by diluting the paint with water. Krusha's design was entirely based on his original appearance in Donkey Kong Country 1, even though he has a very similar appearance in Donkey Kong 64. Next up, we have General Klump, K. Rool's right-hand man. I always thought Klump looked kind of weird, like he looked kind of off, like he was like K. Rool's like ripoff or something. But ironically, my bad original K. Rool design from 2019, in my opinion, more resembled Klump than he did K. Rool. because Klump actually has regular sized legs and his mouth is smaller than K-Rool's. I actually used another Mark Henry figure as the base, but this one had less articulation. Klump's kit box things around his waist were also made out of craft foam. So yeah, besides that, the figure was pretty simple, and his design was based off of Donkey Kong Country 1. Last but not least, well, actually, this probably is my least favorite of the bunch. We have Naca from Donkey Kong Country 3. Honestly, Nakas are pretty pathetic enemies. I don't even think they can hurt you. They just kind of roll around and they just hope to push you, which is just really sad. I mean, at least Critter hurts you if you blindly run into it. But yeah, this figure's kind of lame. The design really isn't much of an action figure either because, like Claptrap, it doesn't have any articulation. And I didn't really use a base either. I just made him out of just a bunch of parts, like toy parts. Like his body is made out of a toy plastic barrel, and I taped chopsticks to the side of it, and I glued one of those toy hands on top. And to stay true to the character, in my series, Naca is defeated by probably the lamest way possible. So, that is all for today. Please comment below on what was your favorite figure, and if you guys want the Kremlings to reappear in a later episode. I currently don't have any plans for them, but I could possibly bring them back. Also, comment if you guys enjoy these longer videos, or if you guys prefer the shorter videos when I just showcase one action figure.